If I could rewind the clock about 2 weeks, I'd keep my mouth shut. Or maybe I'd just give my brother a fake excuse and pretend I wasn't home. Anything would have been better than what actually happened. It started with a text on a Thursday afternoon. I was sitting in my living room, half watching some cooking competition, when my phone buzzed. Ryan. Hey, can Emily crash at your place Saturday night? I stared at the message for a second. Ryan's my younger brother, 22, still figuring out life, and definitely not the plan-ahead type. Emily is his girlfriend of, maybe for months? I don't dislike her, but I wouldn't say I know her well enough to let her stay over in my home. For context, I, 27F, live in a small 2-bedroom house I bought last year. I worked my butt off to get this place, and I've got a very clear my home, my rules mindset. It's not that I'm uptight. I just like knowing exactly who's staying here and why. Plus, I have a dog who can be skittish with strangers. So I texted back, me. Sorry, I'm not comfortable with overnight guests I don't know well. She can come hang out if you want, but not sleep over. Simple, direct, and, in my mind, respectful. Ryan didn't answer right away, which was unusual for him. About an hour later, he called me. Ryan, what's the big deal? It's just Emily. She's basically family. Me. I've only met her like 3 times. I'm not saying she's not nice, I just don't do overnight guests I barely know. Ryan, you're acting like she's some random stranger. Me. She is, to me. We've had maybe 20 minutes of conversation total. He sighed, and I could tell he was annoyed. But I thought that was the end of it. Turns out, it wasn't. Friday night, my mom calls. I figure it's just a normal check-in, but she immediately launches into, why won't you let Emily stay over? I froze. Me? How do you even know about that? Mom, Ryan told me. And I think you're being ridiculous. She's a sweet girl. You're making it awkward for everyone. The thing about my mom is that she's always been the peacemaker, but also the queen of guilt tripping. I explained my stance again, but she kept circling back to family helps family, and it's just one night. By the time I hung up, my chest felt tight. Now, it wasn't just Ryan pushing me, it was Mom too. Saturday rolls around. Around 6 p.m., Ryan shows up at my place with Emily. Me, what's going on? Ryan, we're hanging out. You said she could come by. Which was true. I had said she could hang out. But then, around 9 p.m., Emily casually says, so, where should I put my stuff for tonight? I froze mid-sip of my tea. Me, wait, tonight? I thought we went over this. Ryan, yeah, but I figured once you saw we're chill, you'd be fine with it. That's when I realized. He'd brought her here expecting me to cave. I didn't. Me, no, I'm sorry. I meant what I said. Ryan's face went red. Emily looked uncomfortable, like she wanted to sink into the couch cushions. There was this long, horrible silence. Then Ryan muttered something about me being controlling, grabbed Emily's hand, and stormed out. I thought maybe they'd cool off after a night or two. But now I'm getting texts from my mom, my aunt, and even my cousin saying I embarrassed Emily and made a big deal out of nothing. And the kicker? Ryan hasn't spoken to me since. I'm sitting here wondering if I stuck to my boundary, or if I just blew up my relationship with my brother over something that could have been avoided. But that's not even the weirdest part. Because yesterday, I got a message from someone I really didn't expect, and it made this whole situation 10 times messier. The message came in around 11 a.m. on Sunday. I was still in pajamas, half-heartedly scrolling through emails, when I saw a name pop up on my phone that made me do a double take. Emily. We've never texted before. Honestly, I wasn't even sure she had my number. Her text was short. Emily. Hey, can we talk? I feel like there's been a misunderstanding. I stared at it for a good minute. My knee-jerk reaction was to just not respond. But curiosity won. Me. Sure. What's up? 5 minutes later, my phone rang. I took a deep breath and answered. Her voice was surprisingly soft. I just wanted to say, I didn't mean to cause any drama. Ryan told me you'd be fine with me staying over, and when I realized you weren't, I felt really awkward. I didn't mean to overstep. I'll admit, I appreciated that. It made me feel like maybe she wasn't as pushy as Ryan had been making her out to be. But then she added, it's just, I live almost 2 hours away, and I don't have a car. So when I visit Ryan, he usually drives me, and it's hard to get back home late at night. I felt a twinge of guilt. I hadn't known that detail. Still, I told her the truth. I get that, and I'm sorry it makes things harder. But I have a personal rule about overnight guests, especially ones I don't know well. It's not about you personally. It's about me feeling comfortable in my own home. She paused for a beat and said, I understand, but I just wish you'd given me a chance before deciding. That stuck with me after we hung up. It was the first time I actually questioned whether my rule might be too rigid. But before I could sit with that thought, Ryan called me. And this time, he was furious. Ryan, did you seriously go behind my back and make Emily feel bad for asking you directly? Me, what? She texted me. I didn't even know she had my number. Ryan, she said you basically told her she's not welcome in your life. Me, that's not what I said at all. The argument spiraled from there. He accused me of looking down on her, of acting holier than thou just because I own my own place. I accused him of steamrolling my boundaries. We both hung up angry. Later that afternoon, Mom called again. This time, she was less guilt-tripped and more full-on irritated. Mom, I raised you to be kind and accommodating. You've been so independent for so long. Maybe you've forgotten what it's like to lean on others. That one stung. I didn't want to be seen as selfish, but I also didn't want to be bullied into a decision I wasn't comfortable with. By Monday morning, I was ready to just put my phone on silent and pretend none of it was happening. But then, something strange happened. I was making coffee when I noticed a small envelope slid under my front door. My heart jumped for a second. I almost never get anything like that. Inside was a folded piece of notebook paper with messy handwriting. It was from Emily. The note started out polite, thanking me for letting her come by Saturday and apologizing for the awkward situation. But then the last line made my stomach knot up. I think if you knew the full story, you'd understand why I needed to stay that night. That was it. No explanation. No call me, or let's talk more. Just that one cryptic sentence. I stood in my kitchen staring at that paper, and for the first time, I wondered if maybe this wasn't just about my boundary anymore. I stared at that single sentence until the coffee went cold. Then I set the note on the counter and paced the kitchen like my tiles had answers printed on them. If you knew the full story, the words sounded less like a threat and more like a plea, and it lodged somewhere right between my ribs and my pride. After lunch, I texted Emily. Me, I found your note. Do you want to meet somewhere public and talk? Coffee. No pressure. She replied almost immediately. Emily, yes. There's a little bakery off Maple, Bean and Birch. 5:30. Bean and Birch is this tiny place tucked in a converted Craftsman with plants hanging in macrame slings and a chalkboard menu that looks like someone's cheerful Aunt drew it. At 5:25, I was already there, fingers wrapped around a mug like it could anchor me. The place smelled like cinnamon and warm butter and the kind of sugar that makes you forgive people. My dog, Juno, was at home behind a baby gate, and I had one eye on the time because she gets anxious if I'm out past her dinner. Emily came in wearing a denim jacket and a burgundy scarf, even though it wasn't that cold. She looked smaller without Ryan next to her, like a person who spends a lot of time making themselves take up less space. She smiled, uncertain, and lifted a hand in this half-wave that made me want to sigh. I'm really sorry, she said before she'd even sat down. About Saturday, and about dragging you into a mess you didn't sign up for. I gestured to the chair. Sit. I'm listening. She sat and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. I wasn't completely honest with you on the phone, she said. I mean, I didn't lie. I just didn't say everything. Okay. She swallowed. I live with my mom and stepdad about an hour and 40 minutes out. He's very strict. Old school. He expects me to check in every hour when I'm out. Curfews. He once took my door off its hinges because I slammed it. That sort of strict. She laughed, but it wasn't a funny sound. I'm 23. A tightness moved across my shoulders. That sounds rough, I said carefully. The last few weeks have been worse. He got laid off, and he's home all day, so every little thing is an issue. He and my mom disagree about Ryan, about me seeing him at all. Saturday morning we had a fight. He told me if I wasn't home by midnight, not to bother coming back. That he's not running a hotel. She looked down into her tea. I don't have anywhere else safe to go out there. I can't afford a place yet. I'm trying. I work at a dental office front desk, but I'm barely covering my car insurance and my part of the groceries. You said you don't have a car? It's complicated, she said, cheeks reddening. It's technically my mom's, but we share it, and I can't take it overnight without permission. She made a tiny motion with her hand. I took the bus into the city to meet Ryan on Saturday. It was a whole thing. The last bus back would have had me walk 20 minutes from the stop after midnight, and she trailed off. I imagined her walking down a poorly lit road in that burgundy scarf, checking her phone every few steps, hoping a message would make the night make sense. My stomach twisted. "Can I ask you something?" I said. "Why not stay at Ryan's?" Her mouth pressed into a line. "His roommate, Kyle, has friends over a lot. Loud ones. They drink and crash on the couch and argue over video games at 3 in the morning. I had a panic attack there once. Ryan means well, but he can't control it. He told me your place was quiet." "Ryan told you my place was what exactly?" I asked, hearing my voice go careful. She hesitated. Then she pulled out her phone. "I shouldn't show you this, but I feel like I'm losing my mind." She scrolled and turned the screen. There it was, a text thread from Wednesday. "Ryan, don't stress. My sister said you can stay at hers whenever. She has a guest room. She loves you." "Emily, are you sure? I don't want to make it weird." "Ryan, it's not weird. She said it's fine. She wants to help." My face heated like I'd opened an oven. "He told you I said that?" She nodded. "I tried to tell him we should ask you directly, and he said he had, that you were cool with it." She chewed the inside of her cheek. "That's why I walked in like that asking where to put my stuff. I really thought you'd already said yes, and maybe just wanted to keep it casual." I pressed my fingers to my temple. "I never said that." The words felt heavy. "Emily, I'm sorry you were put in that position. I would never want you to feel unwelcome or unsafe. But I need to be the one to decide what happens in my house. It's not about you. It's about being honest." She nodded fast, eyes shining. "I get it. Truly. I should have insisted we talk to you first." She blinked a few times and looked away. "I wasn't trying to take advantage. When I think about going back home late, or staying at Ryan's with Kyle and his friends, I feel like my chest has a metal band around it." We sat there with the hum of the espresso machine filling the space. I softened my voice. "Thank you for telling me. If it helps, I want to get to know you. Not because of Ryan, but because you seem like someone I'd actually want to know. Maybe we start with dinner. Meet Juno properly. See the house in the daytime. Then, if overnights make sense in the future, I will be the one to invite you. Does that seem fair?" She looked startled, then relieved. "Yes, that seems more than fair." We talked another half hour, little things that don't solve big ones, but build something like trust. She likes old movies. I cook when I'm stressed. She laughed when I described the way Juno talks, when she wants broccoli. When it was time to go, we hugged in that awkward, careful way of people who have just negotiated a fragile truce. She said she'd take the early bus back and be home before dark. I said to text me when she got there. She promised. On the drive back, I tried to rehearse what I'd say to Ryan. Something level and controlled, not the thunderstorm building in my chest. I pulled into my driveway, cut the engine, and noticed something I hadn't expected. My porch light was on. I always leave it off during daylight. It's a little quirk of mine, saving the bulb, saving the planet, blah blah. The switch was inside, which meant either I'd turned it on by accident before leaving, possible, or someone had been in my house. My stomach dropped. I unlocked the door fast and called, "Juno." She barked from behind the baby gate, tail wagging, but there was an anxious edge to it. She'd pulled her blanket half off her bed, something she does when she's unsettled. The house smelled faintly different, too. Not wrong, just not me. Rosemary and dryer sheets, and a whisper of someone's floral hand cream. I stepped out of my shoes, went through the living room, scanning surfaces like a detective who watched too much television. Nothing looked disturbed. My keys were where I'd left them. The mail pile sat politely on the console table. Then I turned toward the hallway and saw it. A soft, mint green duffel bag leaned against the wall outside the guest room. It wasn't mine. My fingers went ice cold. I crossed the hall in 3 strides. The guest room door was closed. I never close it. I put my hand on the knob and paused, listening. Nothing. I opened the door. Inside, the bed was made with my white quilt, but the throw pillows had been arranged differently. Neater, in a way I wouldn't do. A folded towel sat at the foot of the bed. On the nightstand, next to the small lamp and a paperback I keep for guests, was a post-it note in my mother's handwriting. "She can stay. You'll thank me later." I stared at those 6 words until they doubled. My mouth went dry. Juno whined behind me like she could sense my heart tumbling. I didn't move for a full 60 seconds. Then my phone buzzed in my pocket. It was a text from Ryan. Ryan, don't freak out. We had to drop a bag earlier. Mom gave me the spare key. We'll be over after dinner. I looked from the mint green duffel to the post-it to the message glowing on my screen. My house suddenly felt both too small and too loud, like every boundary I'd set was a picture frame being nudged crooked. I took a breath so deep it hurt and typed back, hands shaking. Me, no. Turn around. We need to talk before anyone comes here. The typing dots popped up, then disappeared, then popped up again. And as I waited for whatever Ryan would send, I heard something else, something that made the hair on my arms rise. A soft, unmistakable creak from the back end of the house, where the bathroom meets the laundry room. The creak of a door hinge that had never made a sound before. I wasn't alone. That sound cut through me like an ice pick. The laundry room door never creaks. I'd had it rehung last year, oiled and balanced perfectly. I just stood there for a second, my body locked up, phone still in my hand, eyes darting between the hallway and the guest room like I could watch both at once. Juno had stopped whining and was staring toward the back of the house, her ears pricked. She let out this low, throaty rumble. Not her, I'm excited bark, but her something's wrong growl. I swallowed hard and called out, hello. Silence. I stepped backward into the living room, my heart punching in my chest. My first instinct was to grab something heavy, so I reached for the cast iron skillet I'd left on the stove. It felt ridiculous and completely necessary at the same time. I tried again, louder. If someone's here, you need to say something right now. Still nothing. Juno was pacing now, nails clicking against the floor, eyes locked toward the hall that led to the laundry room. I debated calling the police, but then part of me thought, what if it's just Ryan or Mom? Maybe they came in the back door instead of the front, though that made no sense. I moved slowly toward the hallway, skillet gripped tight, forcing myself to breathe. When I reached the corner, I peered around toward the laundry room. The door was shut. That door is almost always open. My palms were slick. I used my foot to nudge it open just a little. The room was empty. Completely, perfectly empty. Washer, dryer, basket in the corner, nothing out of place. But as I stepped inside, something caught my eye. The little window above the dryer was open a crack. I never opened that window. It's small, barely wide enough for a person to squeeze through, but the latch was undone. I shut it immediately, then locked it, scanning the room again like maybe someone could be hiding behind the detergent bottles. When I came back into the living room, Juno was still on high alert. I set the skillet down on the counter and grabbed my phone to call Ryan. He answered on the first ring. We're 10 minutes away. Turn around, I snapped. And why did you leave a bag in my house without asking me? There was a pause. Because you weren't listening to reason. Mom gave me the key, so? You don't just waltz into my house. Do you have any idea how invasive that is? My voice was shaking, but not from fear anymore. This was pure anger. Ryan exhaled hard. Look, you're overreacting. Emily just needs a place to stay tonight, and you're making it way more dramatic than it has to be. Someone's been in my house, I said flatly. That shut him up. What? I heard a door. The laundry room window was open. Juno's been on edge. So unless you want to explain how Emily managed to teleport inside, I'd suggest you tell me if anyone else has a key. He sounded rattled now. No, it's just me and Mom who have spares. And I swear, we haven't been back since we dropped the bag. Then who the heck? I stopped. Something clicked in my head. Did Mom tell you she came in? Or did you assume? Ryan hesitated. She just said she'd take care of it. My gut sank. I'm calling her, I said, and hung up before he could argue. It took 3 tries for Mom to pick up. When she finally did, her voice was calm, too calm. Sweetheart, what's going on? Ryan said you're in a panic. I didn't waste time. Why is Emily's bag in my guest room? And why is my laundry room window open? She sighed, like I was asking about a misplaced sock. I dropped her things off this morning. And the window? I opened it to air the place out. It smelled stuffy in there. I closed my eyes. You cannot come into my house without permission. That's not okay. Oh, for heaven's sake. You're acting like I stole something. I was trying to help. Emily's situation is complicated, and you're being stubborn. This isn't stubborn, Mom. This is my home. My space. My rules. There was a pause, and when she spoke again, her tone had a sharp edge. If you knew what Emily's been dealing with, you wouldn't be so selfish. I pinched the bridge of my nose. She told me about her stepdad. I get it. But that doesn't mean you get to bulldoze me. Sometimes, she said quietly, you have to make sacrifices for family. Before I could respond, there was a sound on the line, a muffled voice in the background. A man's voice. It was too deep to be Ryan's. Who's with you? I asked. Oh, that's just someone from church, she said quickly. I have to go. We'll talk later. She hung up before I could say another word. I stood there, phone still pressed to my ear, the mint green duffel glaring at me from the hall. Juno barked again, short and sharp. This time, it wasn't toward the back of the house. She was looking straight at the front door. And then, 3 slow, deliberate knocks. The knocks were spaced just far enough apart to feel intentional. Not impatient, not tentative, deliberate. I froze halfway between the kitchen and the entryway, my brain cycling through the usual suspects. Ryan, Mom, maybe even Emily if she'd decided to show up without warning. But none of them would knock like that. Juno's tail was stiff, her stance low, a soft growl vibrating in her throat. I stepped closer to the door, heart thudding. Who is it? I called. A pause. Then, a voice I didn't recognize, male, low, a little raspy. Delivery for Emily. I frowned. What kind of delivery? Another pause. Just some things she left behind. Something in the tone was off. Too flat. Too practiced. My instincts screamed, don't open the door. I looked through the peephole. The porch light was still on from earlier, casting everything in that yellow haze. A man stood there wearing a dark hoodie pulled up, head down so I couldn't see his face clearly. He was holding a cardboard box with both hands, but the box looked light, like it was empty. Leave it on the porch, I said. He didn't move. She said it was important. That was enough for me. I backed away from the door, grabbed my phone, and dialed 911. As it rang, I glanced back through the peephole. He was looking directly into it now. I couldn't make out details in the shadows, but I saw the flash of teeth, like a grin. Then he set the box down and walked off into the dark. By the time the dispatcher picked up, he was gone. I explained everything. The knocks, the fake delivery, the open laundry room window earlier. They said they'd send a patrol car by, but given he hadn't actually done anything illegal, they couldn't do much unless he came back. 20 minutes later, a uniformed officer knocked on my door. I let him in, Juno still tense at my side. He checked the box on the porch. It was empty, just like I'd guessed. He took a quick look around the yard, then advised me to keep my doors locked and call again if I saw the man. It didn't make me feel any better. After he left, I sat on the couch with Juno curled beside me, scrolling through my contacts until I landed on Emily's name. I didn't want to scare her if it was unrelated, but I also couldn't shake the feeling that it was connected. She picked up on the second ring. Hey, did you send someone to my house just now? A guy said he had a delivery for you? No, she said immediately. Why? Who was it? Some guy I didn't recognize. Hoodie, empty box. He knew your name. Her breathing changed, quick, shallow. Did he have a scar? On his right cheek? I couldn't see his face clearly. She was silent for a long moment. If it's who I think it is, you need to keep the doors locked. He's my stepdad's nephew. He's done this before, showed up places when I wasn't home. He likes to check on me. Her voice cracked. Ryan knows about him. I rubbed my temple. Emily, you need to tell me everything. No half-truths this time. She hesitated, then whispered, he's the real reason I can't go home. Before I could respond, I heard a faint thump from the back of the house. Juno's head shot up, ears pricked. Emily, I said slowly, I think someone's in my yard right now. The thump was soft but heavy enough to make my floorboards vibrate just slightly under my bare feet. Juno bolted off the couch and stood rigid at the sliding glass door in the kitchen, her body angled like an arrow pointed at the yard. I moved slowly, my phone still pressed to my ear. Emily, I whispered, stay on the line. Don't hang up. What if it's him? She said, her voice shaking. I crept toward the kitchen. The porch light barely reached the edge of the backyard, and the motion sensor in the corner didn't flicker on. It should have. I couldn't see anyone, but Juno's low growl deepened. Do you have curtains over the back door? Emily asked quickly. No, just glass. Then step away from it. Now. Her urgency made me obey without thinking. I backed up into the kitchen, heart pounding so hard my ears felt full of static. Then I heard it, another sound, closer this time. A slow, deliberate scrape along the outside wall, like someone dragging their fingertips across the siding. I swallowed. I'm calling the police again. I'll call Ryan, Emily said. but her voice was faint, like she was already doubting it would help. I switched lines and dialed 911 again. My voice was clipped fast. Someone's outside my house. Back wall. My dog's reacting. The dispatcher promised units were en route and told me to stay inside, away from doors and windows. While I was on the call, the scraping stopped. For a moment, all I heard was Juno's panting and my own breathing. Then, 3 rapid taps against the glass. Not a knock, not a bang. Taps. Like someone wanted me to know they were there without breaking in. I couldn't stop myself. I edged just far enough to see out the side of the door. The glass reflected most of the porch light back at me, but in the black strip beyond it, I caught movement. A shadow pulling away. The motion light still didn't trip. 10 long minutes later, 2 patrol cars pulled up, their beams sweeping across my front yard. The officers checked the backyard, the side path, even the open field beyond my fence. Nothing. Whoever had been there was gone. One officer stayed behind to take my statement. The other said they'd circle the area for a while. I locked every window in the house, twice. After they left, I called Emily back. They didn't find anyone, I said, still pacing. She was quiet, then said, "If it's the person I think, the police won't catch him unless he wants to be caught. He's good at this." "That's not comforting," I muttered. "He's been creeping around since I was 19, she admitted. "My stepdad says he's just looking out for me, but he shows up uninvited. Watches me from the street. Once I found him sitting on the hood of my car when I came out of work." "Why haven't you gotten a restraining order?" She gave a humorless laugh. "Because he's never technically done anything illegal. Just enough to scare me." I rubbed my forehead. "Emily, if he's involved, and if Ryan and Mom knew even part of this, I need to know right now." "They don't know the worst part," she said softly. I sat down, my knees feeling suddenly hollow. "Then tell me." Her voice cracked as she said, "The last time I saw him, before Saturday, he told me if I ever stayed somewhere he didn't approve of, he'd make sure I regretted it." The silence between us stretched so thin I could hear my own heartbeat. I wanted to tell her I didn't believe in empty threats, but after the past few hours, I wasn't sure. That's when my phone vibrated with a new message. From an unknown number. It was just a photo of my house, taken from the backyard. And in the corner of the frame, you could see me, standing at the kitchen counter, talking on the phone. I didn't realize I'd stopped breathing until Emily's voice came through the phone again. "Hello? Are you still there?" My thumb hovered over the screen as I stared at the picture. It wasn't grainy like you'd expect from someone sneaking a shot at night. It was clear, almost deliberate, like the person wanted me to know how close they'd been. I swallowed hard. "Emily, I just got a picture of my house. From my backyard. And I'm in it." She gasped. "Send it to me." I forwarded it, my hands shaking so bad I almost sent it to the wrong contact. While she looked, I paced the living room, checking every lock again. The baby gate kept Juno close, but she was still alert, ears twitching toward the hallway like she expected another noise. Emily's voice came back, brittle. "That's him. It has to be." "How can you tell? The picture doesn't show a person." "No," she said quickly, "but I know that angle. It's from the corner by your fence where the boards overlap weird. You can only stand there if you know how to wedge your foot between them. He used to take pictures of me from the alley behind my mom's house like that, just enough to let me know he was watching." I sat down hard on the couch. "Emily, this is insane. If you knew he was this unhinged, why didn't you warn me before?" "I didn't think he'd follow me here," she whispered. "I thought if I kept my head down, he'd back off." I was about to answer when my phone lit up again. This time, it was Ryan. I switched over. "Where the heck are you?" I demanded. "On my way," he said. "Mom told me you were overreacting about a window, but Emily's freaking out, so." "It's not just a window, Ryan. Someone's been in my yard. They took pictures of me inside my house. And they left some creepy fake delivery earlier. Does that sound like overreacting to you?" He went quiet. "Did you call the cops?" "Twice. They didn't catch him." A muttered curse. "I'll be there in 10. I switched back to Emily. "He's on his way." She was silent for a moment, then asked, "Do you think we should tell your mom?" I snorted. "She's the reason your bag is in my house in the first place. I'm not sure I trust her to handle this." Emily didn't argue. I went to the guest room to grab the duffel and nearly tripped over something small just inside the door, a folded piece of paper that hadn't been there earlier. My chest tightened as I picked it up. It was the same messy handwriting as before. No envelope this time. Just one line. You should have let her stay. I stood there, staring at those words, my mouth dry. Emily, I said slowly. Did you leave another note in my house? What? No, she said. I took a picture of it and sent it to her. She texted back almost immediately. That's not my handwriting. The floor seemed to tilt under me. Whoever had been in my yard tonight had also been inside my house again. That's when Juno started barking at the front window. Loud, sharp, frantic barks. Headlights swept across my wall. For a second, I felt relief, thinking it was Ryan. But when I looked out, it wasn't his car. It was a black sedan I didn't recognize. And the man getting out was wearing the same dark hoodie I'd seen through the peephole. For a second, I just stood there, clutching the note like it was some kind of talisman that could explain what was happening. Juno's barks were deep and constant now, the kind that rattled her chest. My brain was trying to process too many things at once. The black sedan, the man in the hoodie, the fact that this was no longer some vague, maybe he's just messing with us situation. This was here, at my door. Again, he didn't knock this time. He just stood on the walkway, head tilted slightly like he was studying the front of my house. His hood was pulled low, but I could see the bottom half of his face, just enough to catch that strange, faint smirk I'd glimpsed earlier through the peephole. My first instinct was to back away from the window, but I forced myself to stay still, crouched low behind the curtain where I could watch without him seeing me. My phone was still in my hand, and I fumbled it into position to take a picture, but my thumb hesitated over the camera app. Some part of me worried that if he saw the faint glow of the screen, it would tip him off that I was right there, watching. Instead, I texted Ryan in all caps. Me, he's here now. Black sedan. Hoodie. Hurry. The man started walking, not toward the door, but toward the side of the house. The same side where the fence boards overlap and where the laundry room window had been open earlier. Juno went ballistic, lunging toward the front of the house before whipping around and racing down the hallway toward the back. I grabbed the skillet again, my ridiculous weapon of choice tonight, and followed far enough to see him slip out of sight past the edge of the porch. My mind was racing. Should I call 911 for a third time? Or would that just waste precious minutes while this guy circled my house like a vulture? I didn't have to decide right away, because my phone lit up with an incoming call. It was Ryan. I answered immediately, whispering, "Where are you?" 2 minutes out, he said, his voice tight. "Don't go outside." "Do you think I want to go outside right now?" I hissed. I peered through the blinds of the guest room. The motion sensor light on that side still wasn't working, but the faint glow from a street lamp let me see enough, just barely. The guy was there, standing by the fence, looking toward the backyard. Not moving, just watching. And then, almost like he could sense me looking, his head turned. Even from that distance, I saw the scar Emily had mentioned, thin but noticeable, cutting from the corner of his mouth toward his cheekbone. He lifted one hand slowly, not in a wave, not in a threat, just palm out, as if to say, "I see you." Then he stepped back, into the dark beyond the fence line. I stayed frozen until the glare of headlights swept across the street again. This time, it was Ryan. He pulled up fast, braking hard enough that I heard his tires protest. He jumped out before the car had fully settled, scanning the yard. I yanked the door open. He went that way, by the fence. Ryan didn't wait. He jogged down the side of the house, but a few seconds later, he came back shaking his head. Gone. I stepped onto the porch, scanning the quiet street. The black sedan was still parked a few houses down. I pointed. "That's his car." Ryan turned to look, but as if on cue, the engine started. The sedan rolled away slowly, no rush, like the driver knew we couldn't do anything about it. Ryan's jaw tightened. "I'm calling the cops." "Already did, twice," I said, feeling the heat of frustration rising in my chest. "They'll take another statement, tell us to lock the doors, and leave." Again. He ran a hand through his hair. "Okay, then we do this my way. You're not staying here alone tonight." "I'm not leaving my house because some creep decided to play games," I snapped. "This isn't a game, and you know it," he said sharply. Emily was right. He's dangerous. That was the first time I'd heard Ryan actually admit it. Inside, Juno was pacing, nails clicking against the hardwood. Her hackles were still raised, and she kept glancing toward the back door like she expected him to reappear. I locked it, again, and pulled the curtains shut. "You'd better explain to me why you've been so cagey about all of this. Did you know he might follow her here?" Ryan looked away. I thought he wouldn't find her. She's been careful before. We didn't think. You didn't think to warn me? My voice rose. You didn't think to say, hey, by the way, Emily has a stalker who's been watching her for years, so maybe we shouldn't force her bag into your house without asking. He didn't answer. His silence said more than anything. Emily's name lit up my phone again. I put it on speaker. Is he gone? She asked. For now, I said. But his car was here. Ryan saw it. And he saw you in my window earlier. Took a picture of me inside my own house. Her breath hitched. That means he's been here before tonight. That note you found? That's probably from him. I looked toward the hallway where the mint green duffel sat. The thought of that bag being in my house now made my skin crawl. Ryan shifted uncomfortably. We can move her stuff back to my place. You'll feel better. Moving her stuff isn't going to fix the fact that he knows where I live, I said. There was a long, loaded silence. Then Emily said quietly, he's not going to stop now. My stomach sank. What do you mean? He's the kind of person who sees any boundary as a challenge. You told him no once, without even knowing it. And now, in his mind, he has to prove he can get what he wants. Her voice was trembling, but there was something else in it, resignation. Like she'd already lived through this before and knew exactly how it would go. Ryan and I exchanged a look neither of us wanted to have. Then we need to figure out how to make him stop, I said. Because I'm not living like this. Ryan started to say something, but his eyes flicked past me toward the front window. His expression changed instantly. I turned to look. There, taped to the outside of the glass, was another piece of paper. Ryan crossed the room fast and yanked it off. The tape was still fresh, sticky between his fingers. He unfolded it slowly, and we both leaned in. In thick black marker, blocky handwriting. Family helps family. The same words my mom had said to me over the phone. Ryan and I stared at the words like they were a snake coiled on my window. Family helps family. The marker bled a little at the edges where the ink had soaked into the paper. Thick strokes like someone pressed too hard and didn't care if it smeared. Don't touch it yet, I said, grabbing my phone first. I snapped a photo with the flash off, one with it on, then took a close-up of the tape corner. My hands were shaking again, this weird mix of mad and scared that made my throat feel tight. Ryan held the note between two fingers like it might sting. This is him messing with you, he said. He wants you rattled. Or, I said, someone's repeating what Mom said to me like 5 hours ago. He blinked. You think, Mom? I don't know what I think, I said, too fast. I just know I'm done with people having keys to my house, and acting like that means my boundaries don't exist. I hit Mom's contact. She answered on the second ring, voice sugar-sweet in that way that always meant she was already on the defensive. Honey, are you okay? Ryan said there was some kind of note. On my window, I cut in. After a guy in a hoodie came back to the house and prowled around my fence. After the empty box delivery. And after you opened my laundry room window and dropped a bag in my guest room. Do you hear how this all sounds? A beat. Then that sigh again. You're catastrophizing. I opened the window to let some fresh air in. It's not a hotel room, Mom, I said, trying hard to keep my voice level. It's my home. And since you apparently forgot, it's also up to me who stays in it. You don't get to decide that for me. I was trying to help Emily, she said. She needs support. If you just... I met her for coffee, I said. I like her. I told her we could get to know each other, and then I would invite her when it felt right. You removing the decision from me. Not help. On her end, I heard that same low male voice from earlier, muffled, saying something I couldn't make out. The hair on my arms lifted. Who is that? I asked. Is that her stepdad? Mom hesitated. Don't make this bigger than it is. He just wanted to make sure Emily has somewhere appropriate to stay. The nephew was at my door tonight with an empty box, I said. Does that sound appropriate to you? Silence. The kind that means someone knows they've overstepped and is deciding whether to double down anyway. He offered to drop some things off for Emily, Mom said finally. I didn't realize you would be so. Stop calling this help. I snapped, my voice breaking. It's not help to give strangers access to my house. It's not help to involve a man I don't know who has been creeping around, and then tape a note on my window with your words on it like I'm being taught a lesson. I didn't write any note, she said, sharper now. If someone twisted my words, that's on them. Then who did you tell exactly? Because the only way he knows where I live, when I'm home, and what I argued about with you is if somebody who knows those things told him, or if he was close enough to hear me. She didn't answer that. I'm coming over, she said instead. We're going to talk like a family. You're not coming in, I said. I'm changing the locks. I love you, but the spare key is done. The line went dead. She'd hung up. Ryan pressed his fingers to the bridge of his nose. She's going to take that as a declaration of war. It's not war, I said. It's me putting the door back on its hinges. My voice went small on that last part. Even hearing myself, I knew I sounded tired. My phone buzzed. Emily again, still on speaker from earlier. I heard all of that, she said. I'm sorry. I didn't want your mom involved this way. I did tell her I was scared to go home, but I didn't ask her to recruit anyone. I swear. I believe you, I said. Ryan looked at me, guilty flickering across his face. I'm going to pick her up, he said. Right now? She's not staying with Kyle tonight. I opened my mouth to argue. My rule, my home, all the things I'd been repeating like a mantra, but the words caught behind my teeth. Rules were supposed to keep me safe. The last few hours had made it painfully clear that pretending the problem wasn't already in my orbit wasn't going to keep anyone safe. If she comes here, I said, breath out, we do it on my terms. You text me when you arrive with her. You don't pull up with a surprise. The minute you get here, we call the police again and put something official on record. You both follow my lead about locks, curtains, lights, everything. No posting online. No telling anyone you're here who doesn't need to know. Yes, Emily said immediately. Thank you. Ryan nodded. I'll be 25, 30 minutes. Do you want me to grab anything for you on the way? Yes, I said. A new lock set, and a dowel for the slider, and batteries for the motion lights because apparently mine are on strike. He gave a quick, breathless laugh that softened his face. Okay. When he left, the house felt too big and too small at the same time. Juno paced with me from room to room while I checked the windows again, this time running my hand along each latch like I could seal the house with my palm. In the guest room I paused, staring at the neatness someone else had imposed on my things, the folded towel, the realigned pillows, the post-it in my mother's handwriting still bossing my nightstand. She can stay. You'll thank me later. I pulled the towel off the bed, refolded it the way I always do, then set the post-it face down in the drawer. Small reclaimings. On the floor near the baseboard, something glinted. I knelt and picked it up. A tiny oval keychain tag, the kind they give you for gym memberships or discount cards. This one had a farm supply logo I recognized from highway billboards outside the city, Murphy's Feed and Hardware. There was a short metal ring attached, but no key. I turned it in my hand. Not mine. Not Mom's. Not Ryan's. I took a photo and texted it to Emily. Me. Does this look familiar to you? She responded fast. Emily. That's where my stepdad buys everything for the yard. His nephew works there part-time. My stomach dropped. I didn't even know the nephew's name, and I had part of his pocket clutter on my guest room floor. What's his name? The question left me before I could stop it. A pause, like she didn't want to say it out loud. Owen. Owen. Now it had a shape. I was still kneeling when headlights swept across the wall again. I stood too fast, and my knee popped, a little snap that made me wince. I moved back toward the front window, stayed low, and peeked. A car eased to a stop at the curb. Not Ryan. Wrong silhouette. Not the black sedan, either. It was Mom's SUV. My heart sank. She got out first. The passenger door opened too, and a man climbed out. Late 40s, tall, dark jacket. Even from 20 feet away, I could tell he had the posture of someone who expects people to move around him. He stood beside my mother like a shadow she'd invited. I didn't open the door. I called out through it instead. We can talk in the morning. Not tonight. Mom put her hand on the glass near the peephole. Honey, she said, voice all balm. Please, just let us in for 5 minutes. Who's US exactly? I asked, though I already knew. This is Daniel, she said. Emily's stepfather. He just wants to explain. Every muscle in my body tightened. I don't have anything to discuss with a man who thinks sending his nephew to my house at night is appropriate. He's worried about Emily, she said, as if the sentence actually justified something. I have nothing to say to him, I said. You can call me tomorrow. Through the peephole, Daniel leaned closer to my mom and said something I couldn't hear. His mouth barely moved. My mom's jaw tightened. My phone buzzed again. Ryan, 5 minutes out. Emily's with me. Me. Mom is here with Daniel. Do not pull up to the curb. Park 2 blocks away until I tell you. Ryan, got it. I took a breath and cracked the door just enough that the chain caught. You have 60 seconds, I said, from the porch, and you're not stepping inside. Daniel spoke before my mother could. His voice was low, even, the kind people think sounds reasonable until they listen to the actual words. I'm concerned about the influences around Emily, he said. I'm told your home is open. Unchecked. That's not a good environment. My laugh sounded wrong in my own ears. My home is locked tighter than a bank vault right now, thanks to your nephew. And you do not get to evaluate my environment. You aren't invited to even look at it. She needs structure, he said. Rules. You seem to have trouble with those. I gripped the edge of the door so hard my knuckles ached. No, I said. What I have trouble with is other people's rules inside my walls. My mother reached toward the chain like she could will it to fall away. Sweetheart, you're being unkind. Am I? I asked. Or am I remembering that I paid for every plank in this house, and I'm allowed to decide who's in it? Daniel's eyes slid past me like he was trying to see into the entryway. Juno let out a low growl, and he refocused, giving that thin smile people wear when they've decided you're a problem to solve. It would be easier for everyone if Emily came with us, he said. We'll make sure she's safe. You just made an argument for why she won't, I said. He didn't flare, didn't raise his voice. He simply reached into his pocket and placed something on the porch table beside my potted fern. A small black fob. Owen said he found this near your back fence, he said. He wanted to return it. We look out for family. I stared at the fob. It looked a little like the keychain I'd found, only newer. My mouth went dry. Tell Owen if he ever steps foot on my property again, I will have him arrested. On what grounds? Daniel asked, almost gentle. On the grounds that he's trespassing and harassing, I said. And because he taped a note to my window and took pictures of me in my kitchen, which I did share with the police. That made him tilt his head. Pictures? I didn't answer. I closed the door until the chain went taut. We're done, I said. Mom, you can call me tomorrow. Daniel, you can stop pretending this is about concern. I shut the door. The chain rattled. I slid the deadbolt. Juno barked once, sharp, and then fell quiet, listening with me. Through the peephole, I watched them stand there, my mother's hands fluttering in small, anxious circles, Daniel's stillness like a flat stone in a stream. After a minute, he turned and walked back to the SUV. Mom hesitated, looked at the door as if she could see my face through it, and then followed. I waited until their taillights disappeared before texting Ryan. Me, clear. Park in the driveway, but stay in the car until I open the door. Headlights eased in. I cracked the door, and the chain clinked again. Ryan helped Emily out. She had a small backpack hugged to her chest, shoulders up around her ears like she was bracing for weather. When she stepped into my entryway, her eyes flicked to the guest room, then to Juno, then back to me. Thank you, she said, so soft it barely made sound. Ground rules, I said, forcing my voice to be steady. Shoes off. Phone on silent. If you go room to room, you tell me first. If you're not comfortable with any of that, you leave with Ryan. I can do that, she said immediately. Whatever you want. I don't want to be watched anymore. I nodded. I didn't know what to do with the sudden ache in my chest at that. Ryan set the bag down by the couch and then went back to the door to bring in the new lock set. We should change this now, he said, before anyone else tries to play house here. We worked in this quiet, focused way, the three of us moving around each other. Me holding the flashlight, Ryan unscrewing old brass from the door, Emily passing us the new plates and screws, hands trembling but steadying as the minutes went on. When the final latch slid into place and clicked with a clean, satisfying sound, I felt something inside me settle a fraction. Okay, I said. Guest room it is. Door stays open tonight. Bathroom light on. Juno will sleep with me. If you hear anything, you wake me up. Emily nodded, her eyes already glassy from exhaustion and relief. Ryan lingered near the door like he wasn't sure if leaving was the right thing. Do you want me to stay on the couch? He asked. I shook my head. Go home. Text me when you get there. Come back in the morning. We'll go to the station and file whatever can be filed. He hesitated, then pulled me into a quick, hard hug that smelled like cold air and the cheap coffee from the gas station cup holder. I'm sorry, he said into my hair. For the keys. For pushing. For everything. I know, I said. And I did. When he left, the house went very quiet. Emily stood in the guest room doorway, backpack still hugged to her chest like a shield. I showed her where the extra blankets were, where the bathroom light switch was, where the charger cable lived in the drawer. She smiled gratefully at each tiny courtesy, like I was handing her bricks for a wall she could finally stand behind. I went to the kitchen for a glass of water. As I rounded the island, my phone buzzed with a message from a number I didn't recognize. No text, just a photo. I tapped it open and stared. It was my guest room. My white quilt, the throw pillows arranged exactly the way I had just put them back. The lamp on the nightstand glowed in the picture, but mine was off now. And in the mirror across from the bed, there was the faint suggestion of a shape. Not clear, not obvious, just the sense of someone there when no one should be. A second message arrived. This one had words. Good night. Be kind. From the hallway, Emily's voice floated out, a whisper with a tremor in it. Did you just turn on a light? I set my glass down so carefully it didn't make a sound. No, I said. And then, as if the house had been holding its breath, the motion sensor in the backyard finally clicked alive, flooding the fence corner with hard white light. A shadow peeled away from the boards and moved, just outside the reach of the glow, slow and deliberate, like it knew exactly how wide the beam could see. I took one step toward the sliding door, every nerve bright. Stay in the room, I told Emily. My phone buzzed again in my hand. Another photo. This time, not a picture. A live video request. For a second, I just stared at the notification pulsing on my phone. Incoming live video. My thumb hovered, every instinct screaming not to touch it. If I accepted, they'd know they had my attention. If I didn't, would they take that as a challenge? The little timer bar started counting down. Juno's growl deepened until it was a low vibration against my shin. Emily's voice, small and tight, came from the guest room. Who is it? I didn't answer her. I waited until the last possible second, then swiped to accept, more for control than curiosity. The screen went black for a heartbeat, then resolved into grainy, moving shapes. It was my backyard. The motion sensor light was still on, spilling that harsh white glow over the fence line. The view shifted. Whoever held the camera was crouched low, moving along the fence toward the corner where the boards overlapped. The image jolted, then steadied on my laundry room window. A gloved hand reached up, fingers tapping the glass. Slow. Purposeful. I ended the call so hard my phone case creaked. Emily, I said, forcing my voice steady, lock the guest room door. Now. But, now. She went quiet, the soft click of the lock carrying down the hall. I grabbed my phone again, this time dialing 911 with no hesitation. He's in my yard right now, I told the dispatcher, voice clipped. Black hoodie, scar on his cheek, filming himself at my window. They promised units were on the way. While I waited, I kept my eyes on the backyard. The light flicked off after a minute, plunging everything into shadow. My skin prickled. He could be anywhere now, 10 feet away or halfway down the street. Sirens cut through the night 3 minutes later, blue and red washing over the walls. 2 officers swept the yard with flashlights while a third came to the door for my statement. They found fresh footprints in the strip of dirt by the fence, leading to the corner, and then nothing. No car. No suspect. By the time they left, the adrenaline had settled into something heavier. Emily emerged from the guest room, her eyes rimmed red. He's not going to stop, is he? Not unless we make him, I said. My voice surprised me. It was calm, certain. We sat in the living room with Juno between us, hashing out a plan. Locks changed, cameras installed tomorrow, a formal harassment report filed at the station in the morning. And one unshakable rule: no one comes or goes without me knowing. When Emily finally went to bed, I stayed up another hour, watching the feed from the single old security cam I'd had sitting in the corner of my porch. It showed nothing but quiet street and the sway of the neighbor's tree. But around 3 a.m., just as my eyes started to close, a shadow moved across the far edge of the frame. Too fast to see clearly. Slow enough to let me know he was still out there. And that this wasn't over.